All right, so tonight is pizza night. So I'm about to get ready to make some homemade pizza. I make my own crust. It's not the sourdough crust, but it's gonna be really good crust. So we're gonna need a few ingredients just to start. Of course, you're gonna need your sugar. You're gonna need some all-purpose flour, a little oil, and some yeast. Here I'm using just regular faucet water for the yeast. It needs to be warm room temperature. You don't want it too warm or too cold because that's going to kill your yeast, even this store-bought yeast. But you're going to pour it into your water mixture, cover it, and let it sit for about 3 to 5 minutes. Next, we're going to get the all-purpose flour ready. Here, I'm going to be using 2.5 cups of flour. I have 3 kids, so maybe about 2 large pizzas is all I'm going to need. But you got to remember, I'm using yeast, so this is going to rise. So it's actually going to be a lot more once we, complete the process. But in addition to the 2.5 cups of flour, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of sugar, and I use 4 tablespoons of oil because I don't like my crust to be dry and plus the oil is going to keep it from splitting, so it's going to be really good crust. Next, I got salt. I use salt to give it some flavor, some taste. Try not to go too heavy, but hey, that's what I like. All right, so now the yeast is ready. You can see the bubbling and the foaming, and that's what we're looking for. So once I have all the dry ingredients in one bowl, I'm going to take this yeast and then I'm gonna mix it in with the dry ingredients. So I'm just gonna give it a really good mix. I'm not using a whisk, I'm just using a regular spoon. And I'm just mixing until I give it that shaggy, doughy look, because with the yeast that we're using today, we're actually gonna need to knead this dough. So I'm preparing my countertop right now. When you see me pouring it out, you can see the shagginess of the dough. And that's what you want when you're mixing it with the spoon. But when you transfer it to your countertop and you start to knead it and you start to mix it together, you're allowing that yeast to ferment all throughout the dough. You're giving it a really good spread, and then you're just giving that yeast the opportunity to incorporate itself all throughout the dough. So we're gonna mix this just like this. We're gonna knead it for about the next 7 to 8 minutes. I never really make it the whole 7 to 8 minutes. So I do it just enough to get the bread or the dough tough enough where it's giving me a little bit of pushback. It's giving me some resistance. And then I can set it in a bowl, and then I can set it to the side and let it rise for like the next hour or so. So the next portion is the ground chuck, and I'm gonna fry that up. I'm actually making hamburger pizza. So I'm gonna fry that up. I'm gonna grill that. I'm gonna use just a little bit of light seasoning because I don't want all the flavor to come directly from the meat. I want a lot of it to come from the sauce and the crust itself. Well, it's been about an hour, and you can see that my dough has risen significantly. So now we are going to pour this out, and we're gonna split it into 2 halves because this is enough to make 2 pizzas. So I'm rolling it out, and now I'm gonna spread it out. Once I have it laid out just enough, I'm gonna split it in half like you see me doing now. And then I'm gonna try to roll this the best I can into, the round shaped pizza. I don't want the square shaped pizza. That's really easy to do, but you're gonna see me try to, sort of manipulate it and maneuver my rolling pin a little bit to try to get the round effect of this pizza. But as I'm going through with the rolling pin, you can see that I'm flattening this out. You can have your pizza crust as thick as you want it to be. But I like thin crust. I know my kids like thin crust. So that's what we're doing here. Next, once I have it rolled out and the proper thickness that I want it to be, I'm going to go ahead and lay it out on my pan. I've already lined it with parchment paper so my dough doesn't stick. But you're going to see me, spread it out. I'm going to try to fit it to this pan. But once I put my sauce on here, this is just traditional sauce. This is regular marinara sauce that you can buy at Walmart. I think it cost me $1.29. But something that I do to try to enhance the flavor of it, I don't like to use too much sugar, but I do hit it with a hint of brown sugar to sort of give it more of a sweet, explosive flavor. It's something that my kids love, and also my wife loves. So that's what I'm doing with my pizza. So once I have my sauce laid out, I go ahead and put my hamburger meat on there, just traditional style, just nothing fancy. I'm just gonna go ahead and dump it on there, spread it out the best way I can. So now I got my cheese out, and as you can see, I'm spreading it out. I'm going around the pan, but the key to this is not to use too much cheese. I've actually made pizzas where there was just too much cheese and it ruined the pizza. And you're thinking to yourself, how could that happen? But it happens. And as you saw, I used some garlic powder to give it some flavor. Using garlic powder on your pizza or using some Italian seasoning on your pizza gives it an extra pop, gives it like an extra hint of flavor that you're going to love. So I urge you, do not skip that step. I'm rolling up the sides because I don't want the sides to be hanging off the pan. I want that more perfect round shape. So that's what I'm doing. And now I'm going to throw it in the oven at 400 degrees. I'm going to leave it here for about 16 minutes. You maybe could get away with doing it for, I want to say 13 minutes, but I like to make sure that my crust is cooked through and through. I don't like it soggy or saggy, so that's why I cooked it at 16 minutes. But this is an awesome Friday night dinner. Family dinner is something that everybody can enjoy, and it's not expensive. I think altogether I may have spent less than $15 on this entire pizza, and I still have one more to cook. So I hope you like it.